Musk versus Altman.
This is Priviso Live.
Welcome back to Priviso Live. I'm Lynn, and with me today are Stephen and Kayla. The more observant amongst you who are watching the vodcast, not just listening to the podcast, may have noticed the new Priviso branding. Stephen, what's that about?
Well, the company has changed so much over the past year that we felt we needed a new branding, one that better expresses the two components of the name, privacy and ISO consulting.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I want you to imagine two people who are genuinely convinced that artificial intelligence could end humanity as we know it. So convinced, in fact, that they decide the only responsible thing to do is to build it themselves, not for profit, not for shareholders, for humanity.
Yeah, and then about 3 years later, one of them wants to fold the whole thing into his car company, and the other one sells a stake to the world's largest software corporation for tens of billions of dollars. So it goes.
So much for saving the world, hey?
That is, in essence, the Musk versus Altman story. And this month, it landed in a federal courtroom in Oakland, California. Two of the most powerful figures in artificial intelligence facing each other across a courtroom, each convinced the other had betrayed the original vision.
It is one of those cases where you can read the same set of facts and come to completely different conclusions. And that, I think, is what makes it so fascinating.
Plus, if I am being real with you, the number of plot twists in this trial alone could keep a streaming series going for at least 2 seasons.
Right, let us give some context. Stephen, tell us about the principles.
Happy to. Elon Musk needs very little introduction. He is the founder of Tesla, SpaceX, and X, which most of us still reflexively call Twitter. He also heads xAI, an artificial intelligence company whose chatbot is called Grok. We have discussed Grok companions, particularly Ani, in some detail previously. He has been publicly concerned for many years about the existential risk that artificial intelligence poses to humanity. That is not a trivial concern, by the way. Some very serious researchers share it.
Existential risk, just to unpack that for anyone new to the term, means the possibility that AI could at some point pose a genuine threat to human survival. And again, we have previously discussed PDOOM in detail. Not Terminator style necessarily, but things like losing meaningful human control over critical systems. It is a real area of academic study, not science fiction.
Correct, Kayla. Now, Sam Altman is the chief executive officer of OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. Before OpenAI made him a household name, he headed Y Combinator, which is Silicon Valley's most influential startup incubator, the place where hundreds of the world's most successful technology companies got their early funding and mentorship.
Two men, both extraordinarily capable. Both, at the time, genuinely alarmed about Google's growing dominance in artificial intelligence research. And in 2015, both agreed that something needed to be done. What they apparently could not agree on was who should be in charge of doing it.
In December 2015, they co-founded OpenAI as a non-profit, which is an organization that does not distribute profits to shareholders and which operates for a stated public benefit. In this case, the stated mission was to develop artificial general intelligence, meaning AI that matches or surpasses human intelligence across all domains for the benefit of humanity, open source. Not owned by any single entity, not commercialized.
Musk contributed approximately $38 million between 2016 and 2020. That was foundational money, the kind that keeps the lights on and the researchers in coffee while you are trying to figure out the most complex technical problem in human history.
And it is worth pausing here to ask a question that the court, ultimately, never fully answered. Were those founding promises sincere? At the time, perhaps. But founding documents are often written in the glow of idealism, before the hard realities of capital and competition set in.
What we do know is that OpenAI has since changed its mission statement 6 times in 9 years. And in the most recent version, the word safely was quietly removed. From a company whose entire founding justification was the safe development of artificial intelligence, safely is no longer in the mission.
I do not want to make too much of a single word, but also that is a very specific word to remove.
The relationship deteriorated quickly. By 2017, internal negotiations were underway about corporate structure, driven by the sheer cost of frontier AI research. Compute costs, talent costs, infrastructure. The non-profit model was struggling to keep pace.
According to testimony during the trial, Musk pushed hard for control. He reportedly proposed at various points that OpenAI be folded into Tesla, which would have placed it under his direct authority. Those conversations broke down. In February 2018, Musk resigned from OpenAI's board, citing potential conflicts of interest with Tesla's own growing AI ambitions.
OpenAI told a somewhat different story. Sam Altman testified that Musk's departure was, and I quote, a morale boost for some researchers who had found his management approach demotivating. He also testified under oath that in his view, Musk did not understand how to run a good research lab.
Strong words, said in a courtroom under oath.
After Musk left, OpenAI created a for-profit subsidiary and brought in Microsoft, which has since committed tens of billions of dollars to the enterprise. ChatGPT launched in November 2022 and became the fastest-growing consumer product in recorded history. OpenAI's valuation has been reported at over $800 billion US.
And in 2023, Musk founded xAI, the maker of Grok, a direct commercial competitor to the company he co-founded, which, as you will see in a moment, creates a rather significant complication for his lawsuit.
On the 29th of February 2024, Musk filed his lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California before Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers.
The core allegation was what his legal team called a stolen charity. The argument, by transitioning OpenAI from a nonprofit into a commercially driven entity, Altman and Brockman had violated the founding agreement on which Musk's contributions were made. The legal claims included breach of charitable trust, which is the obligation to use donated funds only for the stated charitable purpose, as well as fraud and unjust enrichment.
Musk asked the court to compel OpenAI to return over $150 billion to its nonprofit arm, to remove Altman and Brockman from their positions, and to unwind the corporate restructuring entirely. That is not a small ask.
OpenAI's defense was pointed. Their lawyers argued that Musk's donations carried no such restrictions. They argued that restructuring was the only realistic way to compete at frontier AI scale. And, significantly, they produced evidence suggesting that Musk himself had at various points pushed for a for-profit structure, on the condition that he be the one in control.
In October 2025, before the trial began, OpenAI completed its restructuring, forming what it calls OpenAI Group PBC, a public benefit corporation. Under the new structure, the original nonprofit entity holds a 26% ownership stake. Microsoft holds 27%, from 100% nonprofit control to 26%. In governance terms, that is a seismic shift.
Jury selection began on the 27th of April, 2026. 11 days of testimony and arguments followed, and the trial produced some extraordinary moments.
Musk took the stand on the 28th of April and remained there for 3 days. He testified that he had been duped, that he gave $38 million in good faith and had it used for purposes he never authorized. He tried to raise the existential risks of AI being controlled by a commercially motivated entity.
The judge cut him short. Existential risk, she ruled, was outside the scope of the trial, which is in its own way quite telling about how our legal frameworks are currently equipped to handle the actual stakes of AI development.
And then came the moment I think will be discussed for a very long time. During cross-examination, Musk admitted that xAI, his own competing AI company, had partly distilled or trained on OpenAI's models to build Grok.
Let us just let that sit for a moment. Musk was suing OpenAI for what he characterized as a betrayal of open for humanity principles, while his own company was using OpenAI's models to build a competing commercial product.
Musk's response was that distillation is standard practice, which it is technically, but the optics are complicated. Distillation, just to explain the term, is a technique where a smaller AI model is trained to mimic the behavior of a larger one, so it can run faster while performing at a similar level.
Altman testified the following week. He denied ever promising Musk that OpenAI would remain a non-profit indefinitely. He described the non-profit structure as having been left for dead, without the capital a commercial model could attract. And he painted Musk's lawsuit as commercially motivated bitterness.
It is worth noting that 12 former OpenAI employees represented by a Harvard law professor filed a court brief supporting Musk's position. Some of them described Altman as a person of low integrity. These are not fringe voices. These are people who work there.
And so neither side in this story occupies entirely clean moral ground. That much is clear.
Closing arguments concluded on the 14th of May 2026, and on the 18th of May, the 9-member advisory jury returned its verdict after less than 2 hours of deliberation.
They found against Musk, not on the merits of his claim, but on procedure. The jury determined that the lawsuit had been filed outside the applicable 3-year statute of limitations. A statute of limitations, for those unfamiliar with the term, is the legal deadline within which a lawsuit must be brought. Miss it, and you lose the right to sue, regardless of whether your underlying case is valid.
The jury found that Musk had been aware of OpenAI's commercial direction as early as 2021. Documents showed that Altman had outlined for-profit plans to Musk as far back as 2018. The court concluded that Musk could and should have filed much sooner.
Judge Gonzalez-Rogers immediately adopted the jury's advisory finding and dismissed the case. Critically, the court never ruled on whether OpenAI actually betrayed its founding mission. That question remains legally unanswered.
Musk responded on X within hours, calling the result a calendar technicality. His legal team confirmed that an appeal to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is forthcoming.
So what does this mean? For OpenAI, it is a significant reprieve. The company is cleared to proceed with its commercial expansion, its deepened partnership with Microsoft, and what may be one of the largest initial public offerings in Silicon Valley history. The immediate threat of being compelled to unwind its structure has passed.
For Musk, the loss is procedural, and he knows it. By calling this a calendar technicality, he retains the moral narrative that the question of whether a non-profit can be quietly converted into a commercial empire without the consent of its founding donors was never actually answered.
And that question matters well beyond California. We are in a moment where AI governance frameworks are under construction globally. In South Africa, we are navigating the Protection of Personal Information Act, the Cybercrimes Act, and emerging national AI policy. Boards are being asked to govern technology they may not fully understand. And the central institutions of the AI industry have demonstrated through this case that their founding commitments can be renegotiated when the money gets large enough.
There is another dimension worth noting. We ran a LinkedIn think piece earlier this month about the first confirmed use of AI to develop a zero-day exploit, a previously unknown software vulnerability used to bypass two-factor authentication in the wild. The organizations building these AI systems are the same organizations whose governance and accountability structures remain unresolved. That is not a comfortable combination.
Who governs the governors? Who holds an $800 billion AI company to its word? Those are not merely legal questions. They are governance questions. And neither the courtroom in Oakland nor the boardrooms in Silicon Valley have answered them satisfactorily.
The appeal is coming. The story is not over. And for those of us working at the intersection of AI, security, and governance, this is one to watch very closely. And there you have it. This has been Priviso Live. We hope you found today's episode interesting. If you did, please share it with your colleagues, your friends, your family. Word of mouth is a strong driver of podcast growth.
If you want to hear more of the same, subscribe to Priviso Live on Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube.
And if you need security, risk, or ICT legislation advice, contact Priviso consulting directly at admin@priviso.co.za.
And if you have topics you'd like us to cover or questions about anything we discussed today, reach out to us. We love hearing from our listeners.
I'm Stephen.
And I'm Kayla. Thanks for listening.
Stay secure.
Stay safe, everyone.
Stay safe.